Yo, hello again there friends and fans, Raptor here, and welcome to a video on Storage Hunter Simulator. Don't really know what this video is going to be about other than me trying to constantly spew facts on you of things that I found out during my gameplay and playthroughs of a couple of different versions of this game before its launch, and including the demo and the differences between that and the 1.0 release. Well, if you haven't already, make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the channel and turn on that notification bell and smash like if you'd like to see more Storage Hunter Simulator. I have many more keys to give away to folks who are watching live as well, so make sure you check out our live streams where we play through the full game after watching all these tips and tricks and beginning day one, first look, whatever you want to call it. It's going to be a bunch of videos in one, so welcome aboard and let's get into it. Storage Hunter Simulator. Let's go. And here we are, our beautiful property. Hell yeah. Alright, so first and foremost, when you start in the game, you spawn right here at the trailer, and we're going to be skipping past any of these things that the game tells us, but the first thing you should do is immediately take out a big O loan, and yes, indeed, I'm absolutely sure that you should, and head right over here to your little garage where you can spawn a car, and then you should be able to spawn any vehicle. Well, of course, the tutorial wants you to do what it wants, but you should also hit tab and spam or scan for a spam of tier 1 storage units that you can bid on. Now this seems like a lot of them, but this is very important because these are going to give you a lot of money. You definitely want to make sure you have 4, so if you don't get 4 at the start, I would definitely recommend restarting immediately. So once we've done that, I think we need to open the tablet and sign up for an auction here. Then it'll give us access to the car. Right, that's exactly what we want to do. So we're going to spawn our vehicle from here, and we're going to jump right in and head over to that auction. So first and foremost, if you got this far and only had 3 auctions or 2, definitely restart. And then immediately jump into the car. There'll be a lot of tooltips that pop up all the time, so just hit control and then hit escape to basically abort those. So a couple of things about the vehicles in this game. First of all, there's 3. Count them, 1, 2, 3 vehicles that you can get in the game. This is the first one that you start with for free, a little K-truck or whatnot from Japan. And then you can work up to a big old pickup truck, which is pretty good. The benefits of the pickup truck is that it can do about 150-ish miles per hour. Like, it can go really fast. And then there's also a massive box truck, but the acceleration on that one is so slow. It can only do 95, but it's very good for blind auctions, which are also in the game too, but they are definitely areas where you'll lose some money, but also can trade that for rep. It's kind of a gamble, but everybody always asks me on these auctions if I've ever lost any money on these storage units, and the answer is pretty much no. Now before we jump into this storage unit here, I'm going to try to get the tools, but we can't yet. That's exactly why I got the money, so that way we could try to get some tools to appraise, which is to determine the value, and also to repair, which is to increase the value on these things, which are going to be in this storage locker. So definitely one thing you can also do before you walk into that green circle is you can save in order to manipulate what's in the box. So if you want to, you can definitely save before every auction, and I'm just telling you how it works. That's how the game determines it, is the moment that you walk into that box, or the circle, in order to find out what's in the box. So anytime you'd like to, if you're not happy with what's in here and you really want to manipulate the system or something, that's when it determines what's in the box. So you could also kind of do the same thing for what's under the auctions at the beginning of each day. After day 1, if you save before bed, every time you go to the green circle to go to bed, you can basically, well, kind of cheese it a little bit, and that's just how it works. It's your game, it's single player. If you want to do it that way, I'm just telling you that's how it is. And so there we go. We're gonna go ahead and see if we can get tools yet. I guess not. They want us to go and sell something at a local pawn shop, and we're gonna do just that. We have over about yeah, 2,000 more bucks to spend, so that's pretty good. Unfortunately, we can only kind of determine the value of things, but there is a little bit of a exploit you could do, let's say, for repairing some of these things as well. And as soon as we have the repair tool, I'll tell you how that works in just a moment. Now, buyer beware, at this point in the game, I have found a few bugs where apparently the pawn shop that you can buy at the beginning of the game, which is kind of one of our first goals, is there's 3 parts of town. A town called Blueberry Village, and then a town called Elk? I think it is. Black Elk East and West. And so with that, the west side is probably where you'll go second, and the east side is where you'll go last. The west side has the area for auctions known as what's in the box, and the east side, the west side has that. The east side has an area, you can see it right here, called the junkyard. So the junkyard's in the east, what's in the box is in the west. You can go there anytime. There's nothing really restricting you from going there. And as far as I can tell, the items that are up for auction are the same in all the areas that you go, at least at the moment. We're going to try to win another auction here. All I basically do is hit space and just spam E until we win. And of course, this vehicle is, you know, not big enough to transport all these things in one go. But remember, we have telekinesis. You may have seen me already using it. And one thing that's really helpful in this game, this is a pro tip, by the way, and I hope everybody hasn't skipped around. Don't you skip around in this video. All these helpful hints are going to help you, I'm telling you. If you want to play this game or maybe help somebody else, I know a few things that I hope everybody else finds out about too that will certainly help you. So if you hit Alt, left Alt, it'll highlight everything that's an item that you can sell, and it also kind of gives it a hue of what type of rarity it is. So here's a common item, and then of course you have blues for rare, purple for unique, and yellow for legendary, and that'll get you the most amount of money, or gold, or whatever you want to call it. So pretty much anything that's not highlighted we know is trash. We can make a little bit of cash from, and then you can basically move stuff out. And at nighttime when you can't see, it's a really good way to detect whether or not things are around. So it's a very good way to make sure you don't leave something behind. Very easy to miss things at the bottom of the little storage unit. That necklace is a prime example. It looks literally just like an oil stain or something if you're not paying too much attention. So luckily for me, I've had chat during live streams pointed out many times. A lot of people even miss it. Some people are like, is that a necklace? It's like, no, I don't think so. Oh, it is, you know. So, yeah, very hard to spot unless you're constantly spamming that left Alt. So that is probably one of the most important buttons in the game. Now, this chest is locked, so we'll have to go to the locksmith for that one. So I usually leave those for last, but we do have another auction to win. That one's coming up at 2 p.m., so we'll go ahead and get on that in a minute. We do want to sell at least one or two things to the pawn shop to complete that goal, so we're going to load that up. I don't know why I threw it like that. But the great thing about this vehicle is that, like all the vehicles, they kind of have a little magnetism mode to it. Once you hop into the driver's seat, everything you've stacked on top can basically lock right into place. So if something's about to tip off the top of the truck, if you dive into the driver's seat or the passenger seat to drive, it'll lock it into place and you can kind of bring it with you. So you can kind of stack. It's a little bit Tetris, a little bit Jenga when you're trying to stack all the stuff on this vehicle, and you'll have to take a few trips. I mean, it's probably just in your best interest to organize things and do that. Now, you can also store up to 10 items at the initial trailer that we started at too, and there's another home that you can buy nearby once you reach level, I believe it is 20. If you actually go to your maps and skills here, you can see here level 10, and then level 20 is when we unlock a new car and a new house. So you can't get that white pickup. You don't even know what the price will be. It's $5,000, by the way, spoiler. And the cargo van is $15,000. But yeah, it doesn't tell you any of these prices until and I think the house is also $5,000 until you reach that level. So very important to get to level 10 as quickly as possible, so that way you can unlock a new auction tier, which means more rare goods behind each and every one of these lockers, or at least a higher chance for more high tier goods. There's still a chance you can find, like we did earlier, purple, but we won't be able to sell these things until we appraise them. Now, that's not a rule that's set in stone. There are certainly places on the map where you can go to a specialist. There's people who specialize in, like, for example, art and jewelry and clothing and sports memorabilia, and you can bring those things there and they could definitely you know, kind of research it for you. But what I've always done is just stored it at home until I want to unlock a new pawn shop, and then I just bring all the things there to speed run the rep by selling it to that particular pawn shop rather than selling it for money. Rep in this game is a little bit more important than money, because of course in real life, if someone gave you $50 million, you go right over to the car dealership and start buying. But in this game, you could have $10 trillion and no one's going to sell you a damn thing, not even a used station wagon like this one here, looking real good, buddy, without having the proper rep. This game is, by the way, just beautiful. They've done a great job of making it look good. Before we sell, kind of just take a look around at all the cars here, like these awesome like 90s cars and late 80s cars. And it certainly seems like a world that's trapped in the 90s. We have a tablet, but, you know, everything here is like, just, it looks awesome. It's like we're stuck in an episode of Mystery, She Wrote. Or Murder, She Wrote, I mean, or Unsolved Mysteries. I was combining the two in my mind. But it's cool stuff. It's a really well-done world. It kind of actually reminds me a little bit of maybe like a rural Grand Theft Auto 4. I don't know why, but that's just how it looks to me. Okay, so our good friend here, we can sell items directly to this guy. Later on, we'll be able to buy this business, and we can interact with his laptop, and then we could do things like give him the task of automatically stocking the shelves, and the for sale sign will be out in front of the store when we finally get to level 10. So right now we're just going to sell everything from our truck. You don't have to park in that parking zone, by the way, but you could definitely, pull up wherever close enough and be able to sell it that way. I usually just pull up over there because this is where I'll do like my appraisals and stuff, where I'll just offload things from the truck and then like scan them that way when I go to put them in the garage later on. You can individually take items and then put them into the garage once you own the pawn shop, or you could do that at your own home. There's also a button to import all, which sometimes I'll use, sometimes then I'll take items out and then I'll have them like ready to go next to the truck, or sometimes they'll fall into the truck. But if things are on the ground, I believe they'll still work. So let's see if we just by keeping things close to the truck can be able to sell them. Looks like we can. Cool. So we're almost to level 4. And now they want us to buy a fixing tool and repair a broken item. So right now, I think fixing is probably one of the most important things in the game. And that's why I took out that loan. So that way I can almost bypass those 2 levels there. Damn, we're just a few bucks short. Fixing things will make you a lot more money. So if you take out that loan early and try to get that fixing done quickly, items go from like, something that's 10 bucks can then go from 20 to 40 to 60 to 80 or whatever. However it goes, it's almost like an item, depending on the tier, will almost double or triple in value. So that's really important. Now, as far as I can see, and by the way, if any of this has changed due to an update, or if this isn't quite right, just based on my experience, do let me know down below in the comment section, please. But the way I can see it so far is that rep is generated by only the tier of an item and not its quality. Quality is a determination of price. But the rarity is what will give you the rep. So if you sell a very nice common item, no matter how well you restore it, you still get the same amount of rep. So it's determined by the color. So I think these give us 10s, and then I think it goes all the way up to maybe like 750 for the golds or yellows. These here I think are maybe 150, 250. I can't quite recall everything, but it's certainly really important that you save some of these more rare items for a, like a higher tier pawn shop later on. Going to go ahead and look inside here. Also, it is a little difficult sometimes for the game to keep items within a box. Sometimes you'll find items in a box here, they'll kind of scoot around. You see they look like they're floating in water like that. So you could definitely absolutely put multiple items in a box, but I often sometimes find that they just fall out. And so I don't usually put more than maybe 3 or 4 items in there, and then I'll just kind of sell the whole box as a complete item. And so when you take this and throw it into the pawn shop, when you own it, for example, it'll put all the items in there in one swoop. So it does help, but it's not as helpful as you'd think it would be. Like, there is some limitations to that. So that'll be just fine. Items will bounce around and whatnot off the truck, so you need to keep an eye on that too. And keep in mind, when you save at the end of the day, your vehicle, when you reload the save, will put the tailgate back up. So if you start with the tailgate down and there's a bunch of items in there, and then you load the save, it's going to put the tailgate up, and that could cause exactly what you see here is a bunch of items to fall off. And that's an important thing. That's really critically important, because anything that is not in your vehicle or in your house storage or in your pawn shop by the end of the day disappears. It's gone. So if you don't have it on the truck, and if your tailgate bounces around when you're trying to manipulate that next day where you're trying to get the tier 3 and tier 4 auctions by loading the save, some of your stuff may disappear, so you definitely got to make sure you keep an eye on the truck that way. All right, I'm going to try to just sell 1 or 2 items here just to get enough money to repair. I think we'll try to sell maybe the owl here. It's in pretty good shape. Maybe that too. Oh boy, we're going to have to sell everything. There we go. All right, so we now got enough money for a next repair. Now, there's another auction coming up too. This one's over at 7, so we've got plenty of time, I think, to be able to do what I'm trying to do here. This next one's also coming up at 4. So we got a 2 to 7 and a 4 to 8. So that's kind of what I'm thinking is more the end date to it. So I'm going to do something crazy. I'm going to go to the tools. And, of course, you can save before you do this if you want to. But there is a way, a manip, in order to try to basically make all of these boxes perfect. Now, this is a little bit cheating, but here's how to do these things. If you spam the right mouse button at just right before an item is fully repaired, you can almost repair it all the way to perfect. But you got to make sure you kind of have an item that's like maybe not appraised and is lower. There, this is perfect. This is a bad bed right here. It's a bad-o bed. So let's see if we can get this one up. All we got to do is spam it a little bit. There you go. See? Look at that. We were able to repair it to good. So look at that. So this says that we need a level 4 tool. We only have the level 2 right now, showing that we can upgrade to level 3. So we just did something that you should only be able to do at $8,000. Whoa! Okay. Yeah, a good way to avoid that too, by the way, is to wow, that went flying. Is right click. It'll straighten out an item for you, and then of course Q and E and R to rotate X, Y, and Z, all that kind of thing like that. So very cool. So yeah, don't worry about that. This is just a tutorial. It's not going to matter too much. If I leave an item behind, you could totally give it a shout down below, but I'm not too concerned. Wow, neither is that guy. Ran right over my wine bottle. We can't even sell these items. You're not able to sell items that you can't appraise, so you may as well leave these behind till the end of the day, anything that's blue or purple or yellow that you find, until you know you can actually sell it, and then just put it into storage and store it for a while. We're going to try to do that. Manip again, perfect. It worked. So, yeah. I think you might be only able to do one tier above. I'm not entirely sure, but, yeah. Not a big deal losing a few items here. I'm just trying to inform everybody. And I'd really appreciate it if you share this video with others so they can find out about the game. I do believe there's other things coming out very soon about barn finds. There is a farm map on the... Well, on the map, there's a farm over here to the east. It looks obviously like a farmland, right? And I think we'll be able to do barn finds there in the future. And there's a game called Barn Finder Simulator or whatever it is. And so maybe this will be an area where we can find farming equipment, cars, random large tools and other equipment that maybe we can sell for big money. And same with the junkyard. Maybe we'll be able to find vehicles and things there. So those together might allow us to find vehicles and parts to possibly combine things. You might find in the game, too, that there's an android. And our thought was that it was like, you know how in Resident Evil 4 you could find gems and other like jewelry and other things that you could then eventually put together before you sold it to the merchant for higher prices? It's kind of the same here, except you can't do it. You will be able to find an android head or hand or arm or leg, but unfortunately you can't assemble it. So go ahead and feel free at this moment to be able to sell that. But you're also not able to go to this area up here in the north, and I'm not even sure what that will be. So there is a large mansion in the game. The other car dealer up here, by the way, is for the large van. So again, remember, you'll need to get to level 20 or 30, actually, before you go to West Black Elk in order to buy that. So that's going to be level 30 to be able to buy the mansion and the big old box truck. Box truck is great because the blind auctions are right up here at the very top of the map, and that's really good to be able to throw all of those cardboard boxes into, so keep that in mind as well. All right, we're going to try to sell a few things here and try to reach this auction before it ends. We're going to try to get a little bit of cash. May not win it, but we'll certainly try. 269 bucks is not a lot. We'll leave that little wine bottle there. Now, if I wasn't doing as much talking as I am explaining, doing a little bit more gameplay, we'd probably be able to do this. But this vehicle here is really good, and you can also keep these vehicles between buying a new one. You can keep all your vehicles. You can only spawn one at a time. The bed has to be empty, and you could do it from the houses that you own. So you could drive the blue truck somewhere and then spawn the box truck, for example. So that's certainly something you could do possibly if you'd like to. Now, another thing that's really tough about the beginning of this game, too, is that they do a pretty good job of giving you massive items for the start. Like, they're giving you constantly these huge stovetops, these huge, like, bed frames. And even sometimes, like, some items can be folded up, but very rarely. Like the chest, for example. But sometimes you'll find a rug that's just like how it's laying on the floor, and you can't roll it up or anything like that. So it's going to be a constant struggle, a frequent battle for space like that. We're going to go ahead and leave this box alone because it is unique and we won't be able to sell it. But I'm going to try to get that rolling pin going. And what's the recommended for this next auction? We may miss some. That's okay. That's all right. 77 bucks here. We might be able to win this one. Let's do the one that expires at 7 and see if we can win that one too. Let's go ahead and jump over here and just keep spawning more stuff. We do get a little bit of cash back from the Insta sales. You will find bodies and stuff here. Looks like there's a piece of art in the back. Actually, I'm about a 30-hour player at this point, and I'm still finding new items. So the developers have done a great job, really good job of putting in a ton of items in this game, some of which 30 hours in I'm still finding for the first time that I didn't even know was in there. I'm finding a lot of arcade cabinets, pinball machines, coin pushers, change machines, washing machines, kayaks and canoes, and here we have ourselves like a vintage piece of art, a painting, which is kind of cool. So that'll go for some money as well. So 94 bucks, you bet we want to load that into the truck. Absolutely. And we won that auction. Can you believe that? With just a couple $100. So right now, we're doing a really good job of making money with a very little amount of cash that we had. There we go. We cheesed that one up to good, as you heard the kind of clink twice. You got to practice it for yourself, but you can definitely do it. The devs, I guess, will patch that out. But honestly, I have had some trouble in this game before where, you know, if you go to a different town, customers will stop going to a previous pawn shop. Like, you can own 2 of them. If you leave that part of town and go to another one, it's like business stops at the other one. So you're supposed to go back and forth between the multiple businesses you own. You have to physically go there to pick up the cash and to upgrade and drop off things. Like, you're kind of the driver. You're doing all the logistics of your business. And sometimes business just stops, and it's a little concerning. So, yeah, you know, buyer beware on that one. And I've also had it so that way if I hit tab, these auctions will all be finished, and I couldn't play the game anymore. I couldn't actually go to any more auctions, and so the very thing that fueled my business, which was, you know, people being foreclosed on in their storage units or having blind auctions as well, they were all kind of just glitched out, and I couldn't do anything. So I was a little disappointed and had to restart. So I'm a 30-hour player who had to do 2 15-hour games, and so I'm sharing all that knowledge of restarting and kind of getting a more solid start. Hopefully, you know, again, the most important thing here is to try to reach that level 10 ASAP so you can start selling things right at your pawn shop as quickly as possible. Now, here's another thing to be concerned about and worried about. When you get into the truck like that, if there's an item hanging over the driver's side and you have the door opening animation spam constantly, you've broken the game, and you better reload a save. Because, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to get out of that vehicle. You can get in and out of the passenger and driver's side of the vehicle, but you can't get out that way. You can get in, but not out from the passenger side, so you're going to be stuck. So that's what you call a bad time. Let's go ahead and see what else we can sell here. Trying to just sell everything so we can get enough money for the last little bid war there. And we already went up another level just by 1 trip there, so we'll leave this here. We can always come back. This is totally fine. You can also sell things from these boxes. Again, remember to right-click, otherwise you'll get that, you know, like it'll kind of ricochet like an old Western movie. So definitely right-click before you pick up boxes. Now, a thing to note, too, is that this pawn shop, all the pawn shops in the game, and also the locksmith, and I do believe the experts, open at 9 a.m. and close at 9 p.m., so there's a huge urgency to try to get everything loaded and brought over to the pawn shop before 9 p.m. And as for the guy who is, you know, the locksmith, you can kind of go there the next morning. That's okay. It takes him 2 hours in order to open a box, and I think it's $15 and then $5 more for each tier. So it starts at 15, then 20, and I think 25 is what I've seen. That may be different, but the prices do increase. So we can always increase our bid here at the auctions, but it's pretty automatic. You just spam E. If you want to back out of an auction, you can hit E as well. But again, I've never had an auction where it wasn't profitable, and that's because I've upgraded my repair tool right away. So as you can see, we're probably going to spend maybe around like $250 here on this box. And once we spend that money, within a few items, we're going to get that money back. So if you keep an eye on the upper left corner of the screen, we've got $230 that we spent on this box, and I am definitely going to make more than that money back. Just believe you me. And even if we don't, like for example, if we find a few blue items that we're not able to appraise yet, we'll make that money later. So it's now or later. We will make that cash. You will find bodies in these these storage units from time to time. Don't be alarmed. You can get all you know, your money back from them bodies too. You can sell those to I don't even know who. Now look at that. We've already made our money back at almost $260. $300 now. Look at that through the manip. Awesome. So yeah, there's a lot of different tactics and ways to load up the truck. You may take multiple trips. I do wish this game actually had trailers, for example, to be able to transport your stuff around. I think that would be a great little addition for the first blue truck and for the pickup truck. And I would love to, you know, be able to have that extendo mini trailer or something like that to bring stuff around, especially like the larger square items like refrigerators, washing machines, stovetops, those kinds of things. We're going to go ahead and repair. And we're going to try to get to the pawn shop before 9. Worst case scenario, we go back home to our trailer and put everything in storage or keep it on the truck, and we'll be all right. Is this a locked box? Yeah. So we'll put that in the back of the truck here. Now, sometimes with your truck, it is, you know, you want to have it multiple places at once, but sometimes it's just best to park it in the middle. And I would make the note to the devs that I do think, wow, look at that, a car engine. I think the night times are a little too dark in this game at the, you know, at the storage lot itself. You'd think this area would have a ton of lights. Our character doesn't have a flashlight. You can only really use the lights from the truck, and it's a little weird that way. But at about like 2 or 3 a.m., it gets super bright out, and it's almost as if the sun comes up. It's like 6 a.m. at like 3 a.m. So there's that. That's kind of nice. But again, we got to get to that pawn shop before 9. We want to try to get to level 10. It could be, you might actually be able to like get to level 10. It could be a possibility, but I would definitely recommend you know, at least trying to do as much as you can first day, and then just load up your truck with the second day kind of being the big day for buying that pawn shop. You are going to need some extra money to buy it. The rep is not the only thing, but rep and level kind of go hand in hand, but you'll be losing money on those auctions until you basically bring those items to the pawn shop, get some of your money back, go into another auction, and then you just keep repeating the cycle. And what you're doing is you're really investing your money in all those upgrades, in the tools. That's where you're going to be making money in the long run. The next tool, by the way, costs 8,000, and then I think the next one is 25,000. So once you get to that tier 3 tool, money really starts pouring in very quickly. We're kind of getting close here to the pawn shop turning off, so I'm going to try to load the bed, and then we'll try to pick another item or two, which might be worth a lot of cash here. We got a $42, $58, let's cheese it, $84, that was a normal. Shame. But this is really good for beginners. And I kind of like have a vendetta against this game because, you know, it kind of like stopped me from playing at a certain point. Like it made me restart. So now I want to figure out how it works and tell everybody how it works. And then you make the decision on what you want to do on your game. It's single player. So, you know, if you're wanting to really grind out for every dollar, or if you want to kind of do a little shortcut here and there because, you know, this is a game all about grinding, then it's all on you. The grind is fun, though. I've got to say, bringing items back to the pawn shops over and over and over and over again has not gotten dull. And that's something that you do repeatedly in, for example, farming sim and like flight sim. Like you're constantly doing the same thing over and over. Taking off, landing, circling, you know, whatever. But it's not been fun. Like it's always been great. And it's really cool to find a new item. I'm still finding new items, so every playthrough it changes a little bit, and it's really delightful. Unfortunately, this pawn shop's about to close, and same with the locksmith, so we'll just pack everything up for the day. And the next thing I want to show you is a later game and explain a little bit more about some of the tips and tricks for owning your own pawn shop and kind of what order you might want to consider going. But I'm also really curious to see if anybody has any other thoughts out there. So hopefully in today's video, the comment section will be exploding with all sorts of questions. So definitely make sure you ask down below, or of course people answering my questions too, or providing some alternatives. Keep in mind you can run out of fuel in this game too. You see the little fuel meter on the right side of the screen next to the speedometer next time I jump in the car. Take a look at that. But the important thing about fuel is that it's pretty cheap. You do have to refuel pretty frequently. And I think this blue truck, really, I don't think you should go to the other part of town until you're ready to buy the pickup truck. Once you get the pickup truck for 5,000 bucks again, remember, it makes it bringing all the items across the big bridge in the middle of the map easier to go over to that other pawn shop because it can go faster, it can haul more things, and it allows you to do more in a day. So you can definitely use it a little bit more. It was kind of tough to drive. It's a little buttery on the wheels, but honestly, it's not too bad of an experience. I'll leave these two here for later. Now remember, we have till 8 a.m. to clear everything out, and I'm doing a little scan here to make sure we didn't miss anything else. So we got a couple items here. And this is where this comes in really important. No items in the storage locker. We still have our items there. And then nothing else around here except for maybe what's in the back of the truck. And that seems to be about it. So we're going to keep driving around. Luckily, the storage containers, like the actual shipping containers at the junkyard, do have lights in them too. So luckily it's pretty easy to spot things inside the shipping containers. Although one thing that's really annoying in this game, and maybe you've noticed it by now, is that every time you repair something, you've got to do it step by step by step. You've got to go from unknown to bad to normal to good to perfect. So you got to click that many times in order to like repair an item. And I don't think there's any reason why a player would ever want to sell an item that's not, you know, like the highest tier that they've unlocked for the repair tool. I'm not sure what the reason would be for that. Maybe you can explain it down below. Maybe because you can put things in your own home, by the way, which is also an extended storage technique, and I'll show you that later. You can literally take items to your home, put it in your warehouse, and then display them in your house. So you can take like a jukebox or a dining room table and make it yours. Like you can literally be like, nah, I'm not going to sell this one. I want to keep it. And you can definitely have it. And then later, if you decide to sell it, you could do that way too. And maybe there's people who don't want to have like a fully restored something or other in their house. But that's the only thing I can think of at the moment. And if it's supposed to simulate longer time that it takes to repair, then just make it one click. Like just make it take longer, but don't have the multi-click. Just make the the loading bar longer or something like that. I think I got everything. I'm not going to worry about it too much. I'm going to throw these boxes in here, and that's going to be that. We're going to head back to the house. We are out of time for today, so we have to store all these items, and that's totally fine. Keep in mind you'll be holding on to blues, purples, and yellows for quite some time. The order again is green, blue, purple, and yellow. Those items are common, rare, unique, and legendary. So those are the orders for those things. And also another note that we're driving, things are just coming out, man. I love that. I know I've got a thought on everything in this game, and I'm so happy to share. The AI traffic is brutal and relentless. If you cut them off, they don't care. It's like trying to stop the train in Grand Theft Auto 5. You're not going to stop those cars. If you pull out in front of them or something like that, they're not going to stop it. There's no real traffic simulation. They just keep going. They'll plow right into you. If you happen to plow into a car or something and be like, oh no, I'm stuck. How do I get off this car? Oh no, I've ruined my game. All you got to do is go here and go to unstuck, and boom, you're totally fine. So just keep that in mind. It might face you the wrong way, so check your mini-map or do a 360 real quick to see which way you got to go. But yeah, there you go. So we're maxed out at 60 miles per hour, no cruise control. You can see the controls for this one over on the left side, and definitely use that handbrake and regular brake as much as you can. All right, at the house, there's a little storage building here. The smaller barns are the ones where we'll store things, and here at this house, it's a maximum of 10. At the one that we can buy first in the town, that's a maximum of 30. That one's located on the same street as the pawn shop, or sorry, as the storage unit, which is 90 degrees from the pawn shop. Very close together. You have your house, you have the storage units, and then you have the pawn shop there. The locksmith is right behind that, so you'll basically be essentially doing like a giant T all the time. You'll wake up in the morning, head over to the auctions, head to the pawn shop, bring the rest of the boxes down there to unlock, and then come back a few hours later. Now you can store all items from truck like this, and it'll suck everything out of the truck, which is pretty cool. If it doesn't, or if you reach maximum capacity or whatever, you can, like we are now, you can leave those things in the truck, and they will be just fine so long... Oh yeah, so long as they're not out of the body of the truck. But if you want to make sure absolutely everything's quote-unquote stored, just jump into your house and you can store things wherever you want. It doesn't have to make sense. You know, you can just throw a bed frame here if you want to, whatever. And then when you're done, there is a little bit of an exploit here. Check this out. So right now we have 9 items in the warehouse because I put one in the house, right? So we can now put another item in here if we want to, like for example this locked box. And now there are 10 items in here, including that locked box. Now, what we can do if we want to, and I don't know what kind of effects this is going to have, but you can then store these things back into the warehouse with the right click, and you'll have 11 out of 10 items. So there is a way to cheese it so you can have more items there. See that upper left corner? 11 out of 10. Don't know if that'll be a bad thing, but it's certainly a possibility. You know, do that all at your own risk. But I would just recommend leaving lock boxes and whatnot in the truck, and things that you can't... you know, appraise or whatever, definitely just like leave in the shed. For now, I think we're fine. We'll wake up tomorrow morning. We can save then right before we get to bed. If you save like right here before you go to sleep, and then you have this to load, it will warn you that you're going to pay $100 a week on your house, which is due every Monday, which it'll be a week from today. And then also, actually, it might, well, yeah, it should be due a week from today because we just started. I don't think you get charged right at the beginning. But your pawn shops will also be chargeable, like you'll have to pay rent on those, and then you'll also have to pay well, you can't actually sell a house from what I see, so you'll have to pay for each of the homes you own and then each of the pawn shops that you own too, and those prices could be different based on the size of it. So if you hit sleep, it does not save. You'll have to make sure you do a manual save on that one, and then if you go to tab, you'll notice that the auctions will say finished, and then eventually they'll refresh. Yep, coming up. And if you didn't like any of these, if you wanted different tiers or something like that, you just reload that save before bed and you keep coming back here. Then you'll see those tier 3s and 4s and 5s. If you've unlocked them, that's a good way to do that. All right, let's go to some advanced tips on a later save. We're going to change our character. You're going to see a lot more of the game. Very exciting. I like it. Let's go. Well, good evening. We now have the box truck unlocked. As you can see, we're level 41 at Blueberry Village. Quite a jump from what we were before. And we also own another pawn shop that is in the West Black Elk sector, or whatever you want to call it. So very cool, right? We own this pawn shop here. We are level, as you can see, under the districts tab, 33 at the West Black Elk area. So we've just recently bought our box van from here. The last level is 35. The game wants you to get up to 50, but nothing really unlocks after 35. I assume future features, maybe we'll unlock at level 40, 45, and 50. So that'll be kind of cool. Now, the main thing to do now is to get the house in East Black Elk, so that way we can unlock the house that's up there, so we don't have to travel across the bridge each and every time to get there. But anyway, the box van here is loaded up with a bunch of goodies already, and yeah, we've got like a pinball machine in there and some wheelchairs. You can see the blues here, and we've also got all of our tools unlocked too. So we're max level at 4 for the fixing tool and for the verification tool. So that's going to be your maximum. And then you can see here that we could just, you know, scan something, and then we got to stand here and do what I said before, where it's got to be repaired multiple times. Or you could try to cheese it like I just did and get all the way to perfect by trying to bounce that loading bar a little bit. You could do the loading bar bounce or something. It should be possible. Yeah, you see it go 2 levels? Yep, so we went from bad to normal and then normal to perfect. So we only had to do it twice. Very cool stuff. These sell for a lot of money, man, these yellows and stuff like that. Now, I'm not going to worry too much about, you know, the kind of the day-to-day workings of the game at this moment, but I do want to give you a little bit of a tour around. So we're going to jump in the box truck and go do some business here so I can show you how things are done. Oh, and you can see how much money I made from this one. So, yeah, we paid almost $3,000 for this one. We've already made, sorry, other way around. We paid almost $1,200 for this one and almost made about $3,000. I haven't even finished the appraisal yet, so you bet that there's probably a lot more money waiting in there for us. So let's get on the road. So I want to show you a few things from both of the pawn shops. They are a little bit different in how they appear and how they operate. But in this game, buying a pawn shop allows you to have specialization for it, and that's a really cool thing. You can make 20% more money off of each of your pawn shops for the 3 specializations that you can pick for each of them. And we'll go over that in just a moment. Again, you don't have to park at the park here area to offload if you don't want to. But you can see here that we've upgraded our pawn shop now to have up to 40 items. That's pretty cool. So we can store a lot of those things here, and then the worker will put them out for display. Customers will come in between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m., and you can come here anytime because you're the business owner to use the computer and collect those funds, baby. That was plus $8,000 that we made. So we got Jason here. You can see that we're spending $250 a week on maintenance for the building. We don't have to pay him wages or anything like that. It's all just all-inclusive. And we've had him set up to automatically list all the products, basically put them out and price them for us automatically. Now, unfortunately, we can't pick a markup. You can do this manually, but it's so tedious and takes so much time that, honestly, I think just doing the automatic listing with this pawn shop specializations is probably your best bet. So the game has a few things that you can specialize in. Art and culture, so that's like paintings and sculptures. Electronics, which is like sewing machines and maybe washing machines and TVs. Fashion and beauty, which could be like any sort of jewelry or clothing. You've got hobbies and toys, which is really weird. I've seen like medieval torture devices in this game and like balls and chains and shackles. And so, apparently that's what that is. So that'll give you a plus 20% on that. Household is a really good starter, by the way. I've got to recommend household and equipment for the first 2 at least that you pick, because household is pretty much all the furniture that you find, every table, every chair, every nightstand, all of that goes under household. And then any sort of lamps or like other things like fryers and grills and whatnot go under equipment. So those are the things that I've been seeing the most in my games. I think those are really good. Then you got sports, so that's going to be like hockey sticks, football helmets, pads, other things like that. And then you've got military, which I don't often see, but when I do see it, it's mostly like daggers and swords, and then of course you get guns and grenades and things like that. Now, this is what's cool about this game, is that when you specialize a pawn shop, when you go to the boxes, you'll find usually these items, right? Like, you know, you'll find people owning hobbies and toys, household and equipment. But I've seen that apparently electronics, military equipment, and then like art, culture, and sport are usually coming in from the blind auctions, and those we'll go take a look at in just a moment. But I think that's a really good way to start, at least with household and equipment for you. Then you can also upgrade your employee, I think for 500, and then maybe 1,500 or 1,000. You could increase the chance of him haggling the price up higher, so you can see that you know, he'll be able to sell items in your absence at a a higher price. So 50%, 70%, 90% upgrade on that one. Very good stuff to upgrade. And then you've also got the interior upgrades for the shop itself, where you can find different types of sizes of like sales floors or like shelves, so that we can sell big items like boat motors and like couches and chairs, and then also smaller items like bangles and jewelry and cowboy hats and things. These get put here behind glass, which is really cool. It's kind of realistic that way. daggers and stuff. Or, well, that's actually fishing bait. That does look like a blade, though. But yeah, you got some beautiful gold bangles, some space toys and notebooks and things like that. And then you've got some bigger items out here, like, for example, a medium cardboard box, which is just completely empty. We're literally selling a box for $1. Imagine that. That's from the blind auctions, though. And then this is where these kind of weird mattressy areas, this is where the larger items will be sold. So it does kind of matter, and when you upgrade the pawn shop, you'll get more of those spaces, including, I think some of the walls can be, items can be stored there too. Anything where you see like a black tag like that, that's where you can put a price and do that manually if you want to. If you want to do that, you just got to turn Jason off, and then when it's 9 to 9 a.m., 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., I think you can do it that way too, or do it like this. No, I guess you can do it without that. There's just a lot of empty space, I guess. Or we don't have an item for that. This might be blank because we don't have an item of that size. So, but definitely recommend that you leave that turned on for now. You can also upgrade the warehouse size, and there are different upgrades between the different pawn shops. They are different, pawn shops. Like, they're completely different. So they do have different upgrades for them. They're the same upgrades, but they kind of give different benefits. One goes way further than the other. You can see in the upper left corner that we have 20 notifications for our tablet. That's pretty much the locksmith messaging us 20 times about all different types of boxes that are open and ready to go. And then the open padlock is where he's basically telling us that we can come and pick them up. I use the one that's usually in Blueberry, but there is another one that I know of, and there could be more. So right now we're going to go over to the other pawn shop. I'm going to show you the daily drive on getting over to the other island. And there is a gas station that's on the other side of this bridge, so I would recommend refueling on getting to the other island or coming back from the other island, like before you, either right after you cross the bridge or right before you come back. It's a pretty good opportunity to do that. Now, when it comes to driving, this vehicle is painfully slow. The pickup truck is so good. If you're trying to do your daily rounds of like just trying to get to your pawn shops to upgrade them, use the pickup truck. That's going to be so much easier on you. But yeah, other than that, I think the box truck is probably the best vehicle in the game for having a least amount of hassle on loading items into the back of it and literally using your force powers, your telekinesis, to just toss everything into the back. It's very good. It's very helpful to just be able to quickly shoot and scoot with those. Very good for the blind auctions because they're all square boxes. Try not to open those boxes until you get to a pawn shop. You can appraise them right there on the ground once you put them into the pawn shop, and then take them right back out. So that's another good thing to do. Saves you a little bit of time. And we're going to pull up here to the next pawn shop. Whoa. Here's the example of the AI just being relentless. Yeah, you just can't hit them off the road. There's no way. Good thing we saw that. If you want to goof around, too, there's a skate park that's over by the blind auction section. You can go ahead and rip and dip and start, doing all sorts of tricks off the ramps and things there. Always fun to do. But our next pawn shop is right over here, and we're going to pull up real quick. Now, the other car shop is nearby here. Again, you can rebuy the blue car at both auto shops, I should say. And you can only buy the van here in West Black Elk and only buy the white pickup truck in Blueberry. So just keep that in mind. All right, the next pawn shop is my favorite so far. I think I've been to the other one. I kind of forget what it looks like, but you can pull right up here to the front. And if you want to offload stuff, you can definitely do it from here, especially before you buy the place. So here we go. So we got ourselves a much bigger pawn shop, isn't it? A lot more spaces to sell bigger items, and we'll be probably more than likely making a lot more money here. And it takes a lot to fuel these pawn shops. You're going to be bringing items a lot. Here's Rick Harrison, I guess. But anyway, right here, boom, look at that, $20,000 compared to the $8,000 at the other pawn shops. So things are working well. Here we've specialized in art and culture, electronics, and fashion and beauty, and I'm trying to bring some more of our like gold tiers here, especially to try to generate that rep in this area. But at this point, I could shut down this pawn shop if I want to. Pro tip, you can turn off the pawn shops right here. It'll automatically close if the hour's past 9, but you can keep it permanently closed if you want to, so there's no business here. And I don't know if that actually eliminates the monthly cost for it or not, or the weekly cost, but this one does store 50 versus the other one's 40, and of course all that extra shelf space, very important too. But yeah, very cool thing to be able to shut this one down and then focus your efforts elsewhere. That one is $500. All right, so there is a difference between those. So you're paying $100 for your trailer, I think $250 for the second house, $250 for your first pawn shop, $500 here. Seems like it's very expensive, but honestly, one quick trip to the pawn shop, and you're good to go. I want to show you what the blind auctions look like. We might not see them actually play out, but it's pretty self-explanatory. We've seen the regular auctions, and this one's kind of no different, but I will explain a few things in how they are different than the regular auctions. So there is a little bit of a manipulation you can do for these as well. Before you go into the auctions, you can save right beforehand, and they will have different rarities to them. On the little auction listing here, you can see how we have a tier 5 and a tier 1 and a tier 2. If we didn't like that, of course, we could sleep and keep re-rolling that. Oh, wow, I pulled right up here, didn't I? But yeah, if we didn't want to get like a tier 1 all the time, we could continuously re-roll and do so by sleeping or loading before sleeping. Here, we can just save right here before we touch this box or this whiteboard, and then boom, you can see that there's a few of these here that are available. Now, they end at, well, they start at 8 and end at 9. There's 3 of them. And what you can do is save right here, hit this board, hit sign in on one of them. They take place here on these large pallets. Everybody will be gathered. There'll be the little circle, and then you walk up to it, and then it'll give you one of the categories that we saw before, like the luxury or the art or sports, and then it'll give you a rating up at the top. It'll give you a C, B, or an A rating on like what the quality of the items are inside the box, or maybe what the rarity is. It could be a mix of both, but you're definitely probably wanting to cheese a little bit to get that A rating if that's what you're trying to do. So just save before walking into each of the circles, hit the button. If it's an A, reload, and it might make things a little bit more worth your time if you're trying to get past some of the grinds, so that way you can get the van, or if you want to buy the house or something like that. So definitely a good option for everyone who wants to do that. So those are the points of manipulation that I've seen so far, and overall I think this game has a really fun, I don't know, people kind of, I think, simplify things by calling it, you know, the general gameplay loop is a repetitive but yet enjoyable. Yeah, it's fun, dude. The world looks really cool. I think it's a very fun game to be able to do these things. I will get bored of it eventually, but the updates that will happen will certainly drag me back in for things like cars, which we've seen images of before on their official, you know, Discords and Facebook and things like that. The developers have been showing that. And, oh, here's where you get the box van, too, by the way, if you'd like to. Right here, boom. So there you go. I wonder if you can buy more than one. But regardless, yeah, it's a good game. It's fun. I wish there was music while we were playing. You could put on, of course, any other music that you wanted. There is a little bit of glitchiness with items falling through the ground, which there's ways around that. I think every game would have that kind of an issue, though. It's not unique to this game by any sense, but overall, I definitely recommend this game. I definitely give you a word of caution for some of those things like saves kind of being corrupted, where I had a problem where, you know, I couldn't do any of these auctions anymore. They were all finished. And they should refresh at 8 a.m. If you sleep, they should refresh. If you reload, they refresh. But that wasn't happening. So I've definitely had some literally game-breaking bugs. I haven't had that really before. But I've enjoyed it enough to where I want to keep on coming back and trucking on it. To be fair to this game, another game that I really liked by the name of Star Trucker was giving us some trouble too, where we couldn't complete the main story quest because the game wouldn't, you know, the game was putting the quests on a timer, and, you know, was supposed to give us a new quest by a certain time, and it just wasn't doing it. And so, yeah, games all the time, no matter whatever type of a budget they have, are always kind of, you know, doing their best, but they always have day one bugs. I've been seeing that as well with like Starship Troopers or Extermination, and it's best to just report those things right away and recover those. But honestly, having a save breaking bug is a problem. Now, to be fair as well, I know a lot of you are probably already typing this comment up, so hold up. There is some pretty good help on their Discord about this, and there's also some pretty good help on their Steam store page. So there is some information on how to fix your demo save, for example. And to compare this game from the demo, I think it's a lot more smooth, but there are some features that are gone. For example, selling things from the tablet, you're no longer able to do a direct sell. They want you to go right to the pawn shop. But hopefully in the future, there'll be more ways to find items rather than the blind auctions and the actual storage unit auctions. And maybe we'll have things like estate sales. And if you look around the map, for example, you'll find like over here, there's like a little, you know, like a little farm, or there's more trailer parks than the ones that we like live at and stuff. So it'd be kind of cool if there was an estate sale, or somebody had a garage sale where you could find something like jewelry, maybe just one really rare item. But it'd be fun if there were just these random things you could pass by and be like, ooh, and you find a yellow item, and you're like, oh, damn, that's what I needed to get the next tier or whatever. So, yeah, regardless. Fun, engaging, definitely very manipulative and glitchy, but it is what it is. And I've seen that kind of stuff in Farming Sim and Flight Sim, and this game's a little more simple than that, but still very enjoyable. Cool to be able to, buy some furniture and put it at your house and decorate your home. And I hope to see more options, for example, to, paint our houses and do other things like that. But man, this is my pride and joy right here. This item, my favorite item in the game, and I can't wait to put it in my house. I got myself a pinball machine. Get out of there, Grandma's wheelchair. What are you doing? Ugh. I want this pinball machine. Give it to me. I better use my strong hand. But yeah, you can see it's a real nightmare trying to get items out of the box truck. And I do think this box truck is pretty cool, though. It keeps items, like, you can't stack them really high, but it's very good for boxes because it's got deep storage, not tall storage. And I think the tall of the pickup truck is better for when you're doing the actual auctions at the storage units. But the blind auctions, you probably want the box van. But it's a little tricky to change between the two. You can't do it on the fly. I want to have multiple vehicles spawned at a time. But look at that circus pinball. Doesn't that look sweet? Very nicely modeled, very nicely detailed. I'm finding stuff all the time. Very cool. All right, well, I live here now. This is my house. I live here out of the back of my truck, my couch, my wheelchair, and my circus equipment as well. Yes, circus for the clown. All right, everybody, thank you very much for watching. That's pretty much all the time I have for today, and off the top of my head, tips for this game. But definitely flood the comment section down below with helpful tips and tricks for everybody. Anything you may have seen in my other videos or other people's videos that you think might help everybody out who's new, or maybe you have a question and you're stuck in the game, definitely ask down below. Now, again, if you watch this far, I will have more keys for this game available, so subscribe to the channel and just say hi down below, and we'll definitely figure out how we're going to do more of those giveaways, likely in our live streams, and we will definitely do that in our Discord too, and I'll let you know on those live streams. Additionally, I'm also giving away a $2,000 PC for Frostpunk 2 in the next week, so if you heard that thing I just said about that, definitely jump on the streams for that too. I don't know. They're fun to do. I'll see you all next time. Thank you very much for watching, and keep on reaching for the stars or whatever. I don't know. Keep on battling in those trenches for the storage wars. I don't know. Whatever. I'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.